let's just start at the quarterback position. And the biggest contract so far has been Derek Carr to the Saints. And we've touched on it a little bit, but what does Derek Carr to the Saints mean for guys like Chris Olave, uh, Michael Thomas, because he restructured and is staying there, Juwan Johnson? What does it mean for these guys?
I definitely think that it gives a boost to the skill players on the team. It's a lot better than what they had last year, to be honest. Get a lot more consistency than what you had with Jameis. And I'll be completely honest, I forgot that Andy Dalton was even their quarterback last year. And being
Yeah.
a Bears fan, I know what Andy Dalton brings to the table, and the answer is not much. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a boost for Chris Olave, and it's a boost for the other kid too. I picked him on my fantasy team. He's very under the radar. I think he's going to
Rashid
have
Shaheed,
Rashid Shaheed.
Weber
I'm
State
expecting some
alumni,
things.
baby.
Yeah, I'm expecting some things from Rashid Shaheed. Michael Thompson, I don't think he got much left, but we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think that Derek Carr provides a boost to that team.
I agree. I think Derek Carr, for better or for worse, I don't know if I even said the contract terms, but it's 4 years, $150 million. 100 million of that 150 million is totally guaranteed. So um it's a pretty significant deal. It pretty much locks Derek Carr in as the Saints franchise quarterback for at least the next 3 years, probably. Because I think that fourth year is voidable. There is a potential out after 3 years, but it is going to lock Derek Carr in New Orleans for about 3 seasons. And so, um, like I said, for better or for worse, I think that's going to tie Carr to Olave for the remainder of his rookie contract. And with the current wide receiver core that they have there in New Orleans, I have to think that Olave is gonna be the guy for him. As much as some people like Michael Thomas, I think Olave is just the guy for him, and I think Olave is gonna end up having I think this is a slight upgrade. I'm not sure where he finished last year in rankings. My guess is he finished top 15, top 20 for sure. Um, and I think this is gonna kind of teeter Olave into that top 12 range, assuming that Derek Carr plays the same way that he was playing with Adams and Renfro and all those other guys. So um, I don't know, man. I think this is good for Olave. I think if you can, I don't know if you can buy Olave in fantasy football for a discount,
No,
but if you could
no.
buy Olave for less than that top 12 price, I'd probably be trying to do it because I think he's going to be pretty consistent over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I agree. Sky's the limit for Chris Olave.
Yeah, and I think also another sneaky buy that people are not paying attention to, and we'll talk about him a little bit later, but he just got a contract extension. And Juwan Johnson, tight end for the Saints, I think he's sneaky. Last year, he had a couple pretty solid games for them, enough obviously for them to go give him an extension. And getting a guy like Derek Carr, who is used to hitting the tight end position, he hit Darren Waller for years and years and years. Juwan Johnson might be a little sneaky. I'm not saying that he's going to be like a top 5 tight end, but once you get out of that top 5 tight ends anyways, you're kind of just throwing darts at the wall and hoping something sticks. And Juwan Johnson, you could probably get him for pennies on the dollar right now. You could probably go get him for a third or a fourth round rookie pick and throw him on the roster, and he's probably going to outperform whatever guy you were going to draft there anyways.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with how scarce the tight end position is in fantasy. Yeah, I mean that'd definitely be a good ad. Allows you to focus on some other positions on your team while having at least a solid floor for a tight end in your starting lineup.
Yep, and I like tight ends like him because he's a converted wide receiver. So he was a wide receiver that converted to tight end, and just a little bit more of a slender tight end. He's a little more athletic. I just like that profile for tight ends. It usually
Yeah,
means pretty good things as far as receiving goes. He's not going to be on the field blocking, so he's not going to be on the field for every play like Kittle or Kelsey or guys like that. But
yeah.
he's going to be decent, and so Juwan Johnson's kind of a sleeper pick at tight end. But let's go to the other big quarterback that signed, and it was Jimmy Garoppolo, and he goes to the Raiders. So, what does Jimmy Garoppolo mean for Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers now and Josh Jacobs? What does that mean? What is Jimmy Garoppolo an upgrade? Is he a downgrade? Is it more of the same? Like,
It's more of the same. I don't expect a big uptick in anybody's production. Uh, I expect a slide for Jacoby Myers. I feel like in New England, as limited as Mac Jones was, at least Jacoby was the guy in New
mhm,
England, and now he's behind Devontae Adams. Hunter Renfro's still there. If they trade Hunter Renfro, that'll change my perspective on it a little bit. But can you really see Jimmy Garoppolo providing much more than Derek Carr? I mean, I'll give Jimmy Garoppolo enough credit to think that he could produce similar to Derek Carr, but that's if he even stays healthy. So,
yeah,
um, and on top of that, Devontae may even experience a slide because unlike Derek Carr, Devontae and Garoppolo, they aren't, college pals and everything. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think it really moves. It doesn't move the needle for me at all.
yeah. I mean, it's a 3-year deal, $72 million. 45 million of it was guaranteed. So, there is a potential out in the contract after just one season. So, to me, this kind of tells you, hey, Jimmy's the guy for now, but we might draft a guy here in May and have a little bit of a battle because they have a top 7 pick. You think if Anthony Richardson is on the board, you think that Vegas might just say, "Hey, Jimmy, you are our guy for this year, and maybe we turn the reins over to Anthony Richardson in a year."
The only way I could see them getting Anthony Richardson is if they trade up uh, with Arizona.
You don't think Richardson
Um,
falls?
no, no, no. I don't think Richardson makes it out of like the first 5 picks. You have uh, you have Carolina,
They're gonna take
Texans,
quarterback.
Carolina,
Houston's taking a quarterback.
Texans, Cardinals, who won't take a quarterback, but probably should. Um,
No,
but probably should. Indianapolis, and then I believe after Indianapolis is Seattle. I mean,
it's
that's where you got to start questioning. Seattle's a wild card because yeah, they signed Geno, but I think even they have to be wondering if he's a one-hit wonder. They
yeah.
have to be
Well, I
wondering
think
it.
so.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
with
So 5 would be Seattle, 6 would be Detroit, 7 is Las Vegas.
yeah, so I can make an argument for both of those teams trying to grab Anthony Richardson,
Yeah, and because
especially Seattle.
you could sit Richardson behind Geno, you could sit him behind Jared Goff.
Like one thing I know for sure is that Seattle and Detroit, they aren't going to trade up to number 3 to grab them. They aren't going to
No.
move. I think they'll be happy to take whatever they take. Vegas is the only ones who I feel will be desperate enough to do it. Especially, did you see the trade compensation that they offered the Bears? That
Yeah.
they offered the Bears for the number 1 pick. Um, the first this year, first next year, the second this year, the first and the second in 25, I believe. I think that was the compensation. But Carolina had DJ Moore. So that was
Yep.
like the difference maker there. And if they already offered that for number 1, they could offer less than that, move up to number 3, get their Jimmy Garoppolo replacement, and, and then just call it a day. I actually think the more now let's come out of my mouth, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay, fair enough. I personally think that the draft order, at least in the top, I think at least the top 5 is set now. I don't think that Arizona should move out of that 3. I think I kind of put it in our group chat the other day with what I was saying about Will Anderson, but I feel like you're getting a gift. Will Anderson might be the best player in this whole draft,
Yeah.
and you're getting him at 3. It's like a little. I compared him to a slightly more athletic Nick Bosa, and if you can add that to your defense, at the third pick and you don't have to trade, you don't have to do anything, and it just falls into your lap, take it, dude. Like, do not move out of that. Just take it. Because what would a team give to have Nick Bosa on their roster today? Probably a lot.
I mean, it's not even out of play for the Bears to trade back up. Like, to be honest, like just listening to their GM the other day, I mean, I think I think what they want to happen. I think they want Jalen Carter to fall to 9. But like you said, Will Anderson could be a generational player. Could be the best player in this draft. And but then again, at the same time, why would the Cardinals trade out of that spot if that's the case? And it would
Yeah.
cost the Bears like all their compensation that they just got. No, I don't see
Yeah.
that happening. But
Yeah. I think Jalen Carter is going to be sneaky. I think the problem with Jalen Carter right now is just that there's concerns about obviously the
motivation, weight.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, he showed up to his pro day out of shape. Um, and I know there's a lot of mental stuff to what he's
I
dealing
was
with
about to
going
say
on right
that.
now. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in his life. So take it a little bit easy on the kid. But at the end of the day, too, like, it was a job interview. You didn't show up ready. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's two sides to the coin. And so I would just say that I think Jalen Carter is going to be a steal if he can get under the right coaching staff that kind of just helps put that head back on the shoulders and gets him on the right track. Jalen Carter, you could, I would definitely be open to hearing the debate that he is equal equally as talented as Will Anderson. I would definitely be open to that debate, and I would not
yeah,
disagree with you by any means. So you could get one of the top players in the draft come pick 10, 11, 12, 13. Like, he's going to fall. So it's just a
yeah.
matter of the concerns. But the only other thing I want to touch on for the Raiders and Jimmy G is that they traded Darren Waller to the Giants, and um, they don't have any tight end now. I think the only tight end on the roster is like Jasper Horsted or something like that. So likely we'll be getting a new one in either free agency or in the draft. The draft has a lot of tight ends. But what does that mean
Yeah.
for Darren Waller going from Derek Carr to Daniel Jones?
Number one receiving option in New York. So I think that's an uptick for Waller. Got to see if he stay healthy, see if he could just stay on the field enough to produce. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see them them having a. They haven't even re-signed Slayton. I don't think. I don't
No,
even think they. I
I know
can't
they
remember
were
which
wanting
one they
to.
signed. They signed either Shepard or Slayton. I can't remember which one, but one of
They
them still
did. They
unsigned.
for sure signed Shepard, and I know that they were wanting to or trying to re-sign Slate, and I'm not sure if the deal got done yet, but um, I know they were trying to get both.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, even with them there, Darren Waller is still the most talented receiver on that team.
Hmm.
And I mean, he plays a position where a very pedestrian quarterback could, have a security blanket to throw to. So I mean, I think I will see how he does because I definitely get the Mitchell Trubisky vibe from Daniel Jones. Um,
Well, he got a second
I
deal,
think I mean, he didn't even have that good of a year last year. He got a lot of hype for some reason. I think because he plays for New York, but
and they made the playoffs.
and they
Dable
made the
made the playoffs.
playoffs. But what does that mean in this day and age? I mean, the Bears made the playoffs a few years ago with a horrible roster. It got washed in the first round. So I don't like Daniel Jones. I think he sucks. But I
Fair
think
enough.
Darren Waller could definitely benefit from some good volume. So
Fair enough. And then just to close out this quarterback position, I'll name a couple of these smaller deals. You tell me if any of them are relevant or interesting at all. Um, but Taylor Heineke, 2 years, $14 million for the Atlanta Falcons. Uh, Jacoby Brissett, 1 year, $8 million for the Commanders. Andy Dalton, 2 years, $10 million for the Panthers. Uh, Marcus Mariota, 1 year, $5 million for the Eagles. Mike White, 2 years, $8 million for the Dolphins. Baker Mayfield, 1 year, $4 million for the Buccaneers. And Gardner Minshew, 1 year, $3.5 million for the Colts.
I kind of slept through that entire rundown you did. That's how irrelevant I think it is. I think the most relevant one, honestly, and dude, don't try to trade me no Gardner Minshew for no third round pick no more.
Hey,
You tried. Um, uh, I think the most relevant one is Taylor Heineke signing with the
Carolina.
Falcons. Because I mean, is he there to push Desmond Ritter? Or like how old is Taylor Heineke? He's like what 26, 27?
29 point. It's
Oh
he's gonna be
wow,
30 this
man.
season. He's gonna be 30 this year.
Wow, man. Time flies. Yeah, he's definitely a backup quarterback territory. So I mean, I'm guessing that the Falcons are hoping. I mean, unless they get Lamar, I'm guessing the Falcons are hoping that they can have like a little quarterback competition during training camp, and
Yeah.
Desmond Ritter shows something. I definitely don't want to believe that they want to move forward with Taylor Heineke as their starting quarterback. Most certainly not.
Yeah, I mean, of those guys we talked about, he got the most money. Um, but is that because he's the best player, or is that because Atlanta had the second most cap in the NFL and was just able to throw some shit at him?
I think it's a combination of both. I think Taylor Heineke did show a little bit in Washington. He showed that he can win some games. I think that
Mhm.
got him a little more money. Um, and I also think the Falcons just had money and
Well,
they
for
needed somebody to come in there. I don't know necessarily if he's an upgrade over Marcus Mariota. Like, why not just pay him? But then maybe
mhm,
Marcus wanted to move on. He got benched last year, so
yeah.
I
Well,
mean
for
it's kind of dumb.
what it's worth, Taylor Heineke in his press conference, his introductory press conference, he came in and said he's excited to be the backup for Desmond. So
Oh,
he said that he's just coming to be the best backup quarterback he could be.
so he's feeling like Jameis. Okay,
But
all right.
he even said that here's the thing. I've seen interviews with Taylor Heineke, and some people love Taylor Heineke, some people don't. Um, I think Heineke, I don't know, man. I don't have a really solid opinion about Heineke, but even in Washington, he had said a couple times that like he prefers to be the backup quarterback than the starter. Like there's
Mhm.
actual interviews where he said like he would prefer to be the backup. Um, and so I don't know if I had a guy who I was signing and said that he doesn't want to be a starter, I probably don't want that guy on my team.
Yeah, no, it just
It
reeks
just
of
tells me you don't want to be here.
beta energy.
It
It's
just
like
means like he's just
like
like
I'll be the
I'd rather
backup.
yeah, I'd rather just sit on the sideline and get my paycheck, man. I don't really want to
I
do
don't even
anything
I don't
for it.
even agree with Jameis doing that because I still think maybe I'm crazy. I still think there's some teams Jameis could start for. Like
Dude,
I don't
Brandon
agree with
asked
Jameis. Just settling to be the backup behind Derek Carr. I don't agree with
Brandon
that, but
asked me about Jameis Winston, because he was like, "What do you think about Jameis Winston?" And I was like, "That dude signed a contract that literally, in the language of the contract, says that you will get no starting opportunities." And he signed the contract. That dude does not want to play football anymore. I was like, I do not care to have that guy on my dynasty fantasy football teams because he doesn't want to start. He doesn't care. Like he's
no,
just a roster clogger at this point. I don't want him.
yeah,
So
like
that's how I feel about Taylor Heineke too.